Today I'm going to be showing you guys how to properly straighten your hair. We're going to be starting with my frizzy mess here, and this is how it looks after. I'm going to show you the proper technique, the things that you might be doing wrong that you don't even know about, and the proper tools as well as products that you should be using to keep your hair damage-free. If you guys want, I also do have a free guide, and you can even book a virtual consultation with me if you do think you need more in-depth help on anything else that you need. So other than that, we'll get started. So the first things that you're obviously gonna need is the star of the show. So it's gonna be your flat iron or straightener, whatever you wanna call it. This is by Paul Mitchell. You wanna make sure that you have one that is ceramic, and you can also adjust the temperature on there. We're not gonna be going over 360 degrees. I think a lot of you make the mistake of turning your straightener up to the hottest setting. So what I tell my clients is you put your food in the oven and you bake it at a minimum of 350 degrees. So when you turn your straightener up to the highest setting, which I think on here is probably about 450 degrees, just think about what it's doing to your hair. You do not want to turn your heat up all the way like that. So the next star of our show is going to be your thermal protectant. You can use whatever kind of thermal protectant that you want, but I do suggest that it has a little bit of a light oil in it because you want to get that shine in your hair, and you want something that's actually going to protect your hair. This one is by Redken. It's thermal spray number 11. It has a low hold to it. So what we actually do is spray this on dry hair, and then we're gonna brush it through. So I'm gonna start sectioning my hair and we'll get started. You're gonna start right here, go to your ear, separate that. So we're gonna take our thermal spray. We're gonna spray it a little bit further away because it does spray on wet. If you do have frizzier hair, or if you think you need something a little bit heavier, you can also use oil. And then what you're gonna do is take your brush, and you're always gonna make sure that your product is distributed evenly. Always brush your product through your hair. Okay, so I'm gonna take my first section. I'm gonna take half of this right here, about that much hair. So I have it in my fingers just like this. You can also use your comb. So I'll show you both methods, but first I'm gonna use my fingers. I'm gonna grab it tight, take your straightener. You're gonna get as close to the root as you can, and then you're going to turn it just slightly. You wanna do what we call putting a bevel in the hair. So you don't wanna necessarily just go straight down like this. What this does is it puts a little bit of a curve at the bottom of your hair. So it kind of almost looks like you got a blowout, but you're just straightening your hair. You just wanna put a little bit of a bevel in it. Don't twist it fully under like this though. Tension is key, so get as close to the root as possible. You're gonna take it and you're gonna go slow with it. Not painfully slow, but slow enough so that it can do its job. So you can see that it's grouped together like this. Do not brush through your sections. Let them cool the way that they are, and then push it out of the way, and then work on your next section. So sometimes when you get to the back of your head, it's gonna be a little bit harder to see. So I like to do one pass through right at the root right there, or a few pass-throughs, so that we can warm it up. And then we're going to get as close as we can. You're gonna bevel it just slightly. Just like that. Now we're gonna work on the other side. So I'm grabbing for tension. I'm gonna do a pass-through right there, close as I can without burning my ear off. You see this slight little bevel right there. And then I'm just gonna leave it, let it cool. Be very careful when you get to the back because it does not feel good when you burn the back of your neck. So I don't have a way to look at the back of my head right now, but if you do, I would use a double-sided mirror. There we go. And then we're just gonna let those cool. Okay, I'm gonna drop my next section. It's gonna be about right there, about that thick. So I'm gonna show you on one side how some people do it, and then the other side how I do it. So you'll take a section and you'll just do a bunch of pass-throughs like this in like a big section of hair. That's probably like 6 or 7 pass-throughs, okay? So this is how my hair looks right now. So I'm gonna show you on this side how I do mine. I'm gonna let this cool for a second, and then I'm just gonna run my fingers through here. You see how I missed that very top part right there? And it's a little bit frizzy through here. And then I'm gonna brush through this now. Do you see how much better that looks compared to here, to here? This actually has somewhat of a style to it, and this looks a little bit more polished than what this side does, especially right there. If this isn't what you guys are going for, that's totally fine, but that's just the importance of doing one pass through or 2 pass throughs if you need it, rather than 7 or 8. So that gives you guys an idea of how many pass throughs I did on this side compared to this side. So which side do you think over time would create way more heat damage, and over time it will split your hair going up? Probably that side. Not trying to call you guys out, but you guys need to make sure you're taking good care of your hair. So properly straightening it, if you have to straighten your hair every day, which I know curly hair girlies, a lot of you probably do, make sure you're taking the proper precautions so that your hair stays healthy. So now we're gonna redo this side. Okay, I'm gonna show you the other way to do the comb method, but in the front of your head. So I'm gonna take my left hand, get as close as I can right there, grab my straightener. Now, still holding the comb, I'm going to scoop my hair as close as I can. And as I'm pulling, guys, I am trying to go straight down with it towards my body, rather than pull straight out. Another thing that I wanted to mention to you guys is you don't get close enough to the root. So you should be feeling the heat right at your root, because your root is still gonna be a little bit frizzy if you don't get close enough. And then it looks kind of weird when it's separated like that, but once you brush it at the end, it's gonna look great. So I'm gonna finish the rest of the back of top of my head, and then I will be right back until we get to the front. Okay, so when you get to this crown section right here, you're probably thinking, I have fine hair or I have thin hair. When I straighten my hair, it just looks flat. So there is something you can also do with a straightener, and that is the elevation. So the elevation that you hold your hair is going to help you with the volume on the top. So when we do this crown section of our head, we want to hold the hair straight up. So I'm gonna do one pass through at my root, and don't bring it through to your ends if you are gonna do a few pass throughs. So I'm going to take my hair and I'm gonna scoop it, and I'm gonna go straight up with it and then let it fall. And I'm gonna finish that on this last section of the top of the back of my head. That gives you just a tiny bit of lift that, you know, it adds a little bit of extra something to it. For us girlies who don't have a lot of hair. Okay, so we're at the front sections now. So this hair is extremely fragile, right by your ears and right by your hairline. So you wanna make sure you're doing well with your heat protectant. You're adding your heat protectant there, you're brushing it through, letting it dry if you're using the one that I'm using. And you want to make sure that you are not doing a ton of pass-throughs there, and that you aren't holding the straightener on. So for those of you who have curly hair, what ends up happening is you have these little tiny baby hairs right here that are super curly and they're shorter than the rest. So you may need to do all of those little baby hairs first before you do anything else. So your sections should be this tiny if you are trying to get those baby hairs. And I'll do mine so that you can see how I do it. So I'm gonna take this section, I'm gonna get as close to the scalp as possible. And I usually like to inch up to it. You'll see what I mean in just a second. And I go super fast. So just like that. And sometimes just like this. Okay, so I put all the heat protectant on each section in the front, and so when you guys do get to the front, you want to have nice bouncy hair. So the key is to get as much volume at the root as possible. Every section that you do, I do one pass through at the root in the front. Don't pull it through to the ends, and you want to hold it at a higher elevation, and you want to make sure you scoop that hair, just like that. And let it fall. You see what I mean right here? Look how far it sticks out from the side of my head. And you wanna make sure that you let it cool like that. When we're all done, we're gonna brush it through, but you need to make sure that you let those sections cool first. That is what sets it. My earring fell out. So I'm gonna over direct this section onto the opposite side, and that's gonna give me even more volume right here. Okay, so I'm going to grab my brush, but I'm gonna let this cool first, and then we'll brush it through so you guys can see the end result. Okay, so now I'm gonna take a little bit of my Olaplex oil and I'm just gonna distribute it in my hands and rub it together and just pretty much put it through my ends and then also just the very top section so they don't have any frizz. You only need a little bit. Okay, so this is the finished end result. I hope that this was helpful for you guys. Again, this was mostly just to teach you guys how to properly straighten your hair the safe way and how to actually get a style out of your hair so that it just doesn't look so normal and plain. I do think that it looks a little bit better when my hair is styled this way rather than just pinned straight. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I'm gonna do a 360 so you guys can see the full after. So that's all I have for you guys today. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think, and I hope that this helped you. If you want my free guide, don't forget to go and click on the link in the description below, and if you do need a virtual consultation, you can do that as well. Until then, I will see you next time.